Kind stranger saves grieving husband's life. This story is very meaningful. Everyone should hear it. Listen to Brian tell the story. I sat alone, numb to the world around me. It felt as if everything I had known for the past 50 years had been stripped away in a matter of moments. My name is William Klein, and I just lost my wife, Carol. She had been my rock, my anchor, the one person who had stood by me through everything. And now in a blink, she was gone. I couldn't even begin to understand how to go on without her. It felt like a part of me had died, and no amount of time or words could fix it. The grief weighed heavily on me, and the world around me felt empty. I sat on a park bench, staring blankly at the ground, trying to gather some semblance of control over my emotions. I felt lost. Every step I had taken in life, I had taken with Carol by my side. But now I didn't know how to take the next one. Suddenly, I felt a gentle touch on my shoulder. I turned to see a woman standing beside me. She wasn't anyone I knew, but her presence felt comforting. Her face was kind, her eyes filled with empathy. She had that look in her eyes, the kind that tells you she understands pain, that she's been there. "Hey," she said softly, "are you okay?" I shook my head, the lump in my throat growing larger. "No, I'm not. I lost her. I lost my wife. How do you go on after something like this?" She didn't back away, didn't say anything to dismiss my pain. She just sat beside me quietly. For a moment, there was silence, and I almost wanted to push her away. But something about her made me want to let go, to speak, to share the weight I was carrying. I don't know what to do. "I've spent my whole life with Carol," I whispered, 50 years together, and now she's gone, and I don't know how to keep going. It doesn't make sense. How do you even breathe without them? She looked at me for a moment, her eyes soft yet strong. "I understand," she said, her voice steady. "I lost my son 3 months ago in a car accident. I know the kind of pain you're talking about." I turned to look at her, surprised. You understand?" My voice cracked as I spoke the words. "You can't compare losing a child to losing a spouse." She nodded, a knowing expression on her face. "It feels like that, doesn't it? But grief, pain, it doesn't really discriminate. It doesn't care if it's a child or a spouse or a parent. It's all consuming. And I know that feeling of wanting to just give up." The words hung heavy between us, and I didn't know how to respond. How could anyone know what this felt like? To lose someone you'd spent your entire life with? "I don't know what to do," I said, feeling the tears start to well up again. She was everything to me. Everything. How do I go on without her? She reached out and touched my arm gently. "It's not easy. I won't pretend it is. But there is one thing that's helped me, and I know it sounds silly, but it might make sense to you. My son always believed that hugs had power. He used to say that they could heal even the deepest wounds. And honestly, I think he was right." I blinked at her, confused. "Hugs? You're telling me that a hug can fix this? It sounds crazy." She smiled softly, a tear slipping down her cheek. "I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, it helps, even just for a moment. And that moment can make all the difference. I've been out here for weeks offering hugs to strangers, people who are hurting, just like you. And you know what? It helps." I didn't know what to say. I didn't believe her, but something about the way she spoke, the sincerity in her voice made me feel like maybe, just maybe it could help. "You're telling me that hugging someone can help with this kind of pain?" I asked, my voice shaky. She nodded. "It sounds too simple, doesn't it? But sometimes it's the simplest things that help the most. Even a hug from a stranger can remind you that you're not alone in this world." I didn't know what to do, but in that moment I felt like I had nothing left to lose. I let myself feel the smallest bit of hope, just enough to let her wrap her arms around me. It wasn't some magical cure, but as she held me I felt a slight shift. It wasn't a miracle, but it was something. Something that made the pain feel a little less suffocating, even if just for that moment. "Thank you," I whispered as we pulled apart. I didn't think I could feel anything right now, but that helped. A little. She smiled softly, wiping her eyes. "You're welcome, and remember, you're not alone. No matter how dark it feels, there are people out there who care. Sometimes they're strangers, but they're there." Days passed, and as I struggled with my grief, I found myself drawn back to the memory of that stranger. Abby, her name was. She had been the only one who had reached out, who had cared enough to try to help. I couldn't stop thinking about the comfort her words had given me. I wasn't sure why, but I felt a connection to her, a sense that maybe there was more to life than just the pain. One afternoon, I went back to the park, hoping to find her again, and there she was, sitting on the same bench, offering hugs to anyone who needed them. She smiled when she saw me, and I couldn't help but walk over to her. "Hey," I said, my voice still rough from the grief. "I didn't think I'd see you again." "I didn't think I'd see you either," she replied, her smile warm. "How are you feeling?" I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything on my chest. "Better, I guess. A little. I've been thinking about what you said, about how helping others can help us too." She nodded, her eyes filled with understanding. "It's true, it's not about forgetting the pain, but about learning to live with it. And sometimes the best way to heal is to help someone else heal too." I thought about those words for a long time. Abby's kindness, her willingness to give to others, had given me a glimpse of hope. It made me wonder if maybe there was a way to keep moving forward, even without Carol. Later, when it was time for the reading of Carol's will, the reality of everything hit me again. Sitting in that lawyer's office, surrounded by Carol's children, the weight of it all felt even heavier. They had never liked me, and I knew that. But this was different. This was about money, inheritance, and the fact that they thought I had no right to Carol's fortune. The lawyer started reading the will, and I knew it was coming. "Mr. Klein," the lawyer said, "has left his entire fortune to his wife, Abby." "Wait, what?" Jack shot up from his seat, his face twisted with disbelief. "No, this can't be right. You must have made a mistake." Lily stood up next to him, her face red with anger. "There's no mistake. The will is clear. This was Carol's wish." Jack was furious, his words cutting through the air. "She's a gold digger. You really think she loved our father? She only cared about his money." I stood up, my voice steady. "That's not true. I loved your father. I didn't marry him for his wealth." Jack's eyes were filled with contempt. "Please, you were living in a rundown apartment when you met him. Don't act like this is about love." The lawyer tried to intervene, but the damage was done. The tension in the room was suffocating. I knew they would never accept me, never believe that I truly loved Carol. But I didn't care. I didn't need their approval. Not anymore. A few days later, I met Abby again. We sat in a small cafe talking about our lives, about the future, about what we wanted. And as I looked at her, something inside me shifted. I realized that the love and kindness she had shown me had changed me. It had opened my heart in ways I hadn't even known were possible. "Abby," I said, taking a deep breath, "will you marry me?" Her eyes widened, and for a moment I feared she'd say no. But then she smiled, tears in her eyes. "Yes, yes, I will." From that moment on, Abby and I built a life together. We used the fortune left behind by Carol to start a foundation that helped the homeless. It wasn't just about the money. It was about making a difference, about continuing the legacy of kindness and love that Carol and I had shared. Abby showed me that love wasn't about wealth. It was about helping others, about making the world a better place. And in doing that, I found peace again. Not because I had money, not because I had everything I wanted, but because I had love, and love in its purest form is the only thing that truly matters. As Abby and I worked together on the foundation, I began to feel a sense of purpose I hadn't known in years. Every day we met with families in need, giving them not just food and shelter, but hope. Hope that they could build something better, that they could start fresh. It was a slow process, but there was progress. Each small victory felt like a giant leap forward, and it made me realize that helping others, giving them the tools to change their lives, was far more fulfilling than anything I had ever experienced. But even as things started to improve, I couldn't shake the memory of the day I first met Abby. Her strength, her kindness. It had all felt so foreign to me at the time. And yet here I was, standing beside her, building a life I never thought I would have again. Her love had pulled me from the depths of my despair, and for the first time since Carol's death, I felt alive again. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments when I would wake up in the middle of the night, haunted by the memory of Carol. I would lie there staring at the ceiling, wondering if I had done enough for her, wondering if I had given her everything she needed. But then I would remember Abby, remember the work we were doing, and I would find peace again. One afternoon, after a long day of meetings and planning for the foundation, Abby and I sat on the porch of our house. The sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like things were okay. I looked at Abby, her face glowing in the soft light, and I knew that I had made the right choice. "Thank you," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "Thank you for everything you've done, for showing me that there's more to life than the pain I've been carrying." Abby turned to me, her eyes filled with warmth. "I'm just doing what I can. You've helped me too, you know. I never thought I'd find someone who would understand, who would care as much as you do." I smiled, feeling a warmth spread through me. I didn't think I would either, but I guess life has a way of surprising us. We sat in silence for a while, just enjoying the moment. I had learned so much from Abby and from our work together. I had learned that even the smallest acts of kindness could change the course of someone's life. And I had learned that no matter how much we try to fight it, love has the power to heal wounds that seem impossible to mend. As we sat there, Abby took my hand in hers and squeezed it gently. "William," she said softly, "there's something I need to tell you." I looked at her, my heart suddenly racing. "What is it?" Abby hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've been thinking a lot about the future, about the foundation, about what we want to do next. And I know we've been through so much, but I think we can make an even bigger impact. I want us to do more. I want to build something that will outlast us, something that will continue to help people long after we're gone." I could see the determination in her eyes, the passion that had driven her from the very beginning. And in that moment, I knew that whatever we did, whatever came next, I would be right there with her. We were in this together, and that made all the difference. "I'm with you, Abby," I said, squeezing her hand. "Whatever you need, I'm here. We'll make this happen." She smiled, and for the first time in a long time, I felt the weight of the past lift from my shoulders. The road ahead wasn't going to be easy, but we had each other. And with that, I knew we could accomplish anything. As the weeks went by, we expanded the foundation. We worked tirelessly to raise funds, to provide more services, to offer more support to those who needed it most. Abby and I became a team, and together we created something that went beyond the walls of our own lives. It was bigger than either of us, and it felt like we were finally making a difference. But even as we worked hard to build this legacy, we never forgot the lessons we had learned. The importance of love, of kindness, of helping those in need. Abby had taught me that it wasn't about what you had, but about what you gave. And now, I saw it in action. Every family we helped, every person we lifted up, made it all worth it. One day, we received a letter from a family we had helped months earlier. They had managed to get back on their feet, find stable housing, and even secure jobs. They thanked us for giving them the opportunity to start over, for showing them that there was hope, even when it seemed like there was none. I showed the letter to Abby, and we both sat there for a long time, reading it over and over again. It wasn't just the words that moved me. It was the realization that we had done something real. We had changed someone's life, and in doing so, we had changed our own. Abby looked at me with tears in her eyes. "We're doing it, William. We're making a difference." I nodded, feeling a lump form in my throat. "I know. And we'll keep going, no matter what." The days continued to pass, and though we faced challenges along the way, we always found strength in each other. Every day brought something new. New people to help, new obstacles to overcome, new lessons to learn. But we faced it all together, and with each passing day, the pain of the past began to fade. It wasn't gone, not entirely, but it no longer consumed me. Abby had shown me that there was life beyond the grief. There was hope, there was love, and there was purpose. And for the first time since Carol's death, I truly believed that I had a reason to live. As we sat on the porch watching the sunset one evening, Abby leaned her head on my shoulder and sighed contentedly. "You know, William," she said, "I never could have done this without you. You're the reason this all works." I smiled, wrapping my arm around her. "We're a team, Abby, always." And as we sat there together, watching the world go by, I knew that no matter what happened next, we had already built something beautiful. We had found a way to heal, a way to move forward, and a way to make the world a little bit better, Together we had found our purpose, and that was enough. As the months went by, our foundation continued to grow, and so did our bond. I had never expected my life to take this turn, never imagined that I'd find such strength in helping others. But the more we worked, the more I realized that the life I thought I had lost wasn't gone at all. It had transformed into something new, something better. Abby and I spent countless hours together, planning and organizing, pushing ourselves to make a difference. It wasn't always easy. There were days when the weight of everything seemed too much to bear. But we kept going, because we knew that the work we were doing was important. We had a chance to give others what we had once taken for granted: hope, security, and the chance to start over. One day, after a particularly challenging week of organizing a big fundraising event, Abby and I found ourselves sitting on the porch again. It was one of those quiet, peaceful moments where the world seemed to pause just long enough for us to catch our breath. The sun was setting, and the warm glow of the evening made everything feel a little bit lighter. "You know," Abby said, her voice soft, "I never imagined I'd be here, living this life, doing this work. I used to dream about helping people, but I never thought it would be real. But here we are, making a difference." I looked over at her, my heart swelling with pride. "You're doing more than just making a difference, Abby. You're changing lives. You've changed mine." She smiled at me, the same gentle, understanding smile that had made me feel safe from the very first moment we met. "I think we both changed, for the better." I nodded, unable to put into words how much she had impacted me. She had saved me in ways I didn't even know I needed. Before I met Abby, I had been drowning in grief, convinced that I would never find peace again. But she showed me that there was more to life than the pain, more than just surviving. There was a way to live, to love, and to help others along the way. "I never would have believed any of this if you told me a year ago," I said, my voice filled with awe, "that I would be here, with you, doing something meaningful. I thought I had lost everything, but somehow, you've helped me find a purpose again." Abby reached for my hand and squeezed it gently. "You've helped me too. I couldn't do this without you, William. I really couldn't." I smiled and leaned back in my chair, gazing out at the sunset. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. The kind of peace that comes from knowing you're doing something good in the world. And as I looked at Abby, I realized that the future didn't seem so uncertain anymore. Whatever came next, we'd face it together. The story we've just shared is more than just about loss or rebuilding. It's a journey of transformation, how a moment of profound grief can lead to a new sense of purpose. William, at his lowest, found that sometimes the path to healing isn't about trying to forget the pain, but about learning how to live with it, and in doing so, finding a way to help others. Abby, too, showed us that even in the face of tremendous hardship, it's possible to reach out and make a difference. The true power in this story lies in the idea that helping others, whether through a kind gesture or a larger purpose, can ultimately help you heal as well. When we focus on others, on lifting them up, it somehow lifts us too. William's transformation wasn't just about picking himself up after losing Carol. It was about allowing himself to be vulnerable enough to accept help, to trust again, and to open himself to new possibilities. The lesson here is simple but profound. In our darkest moments, we might not be able to fix everything right away. But the smallest act of kindness, of reaching out, can make all the difference. Sometimes the best way to heal is by giving, whether that's your time, your heart, or your support. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a time when helping someone else helped you heal? Or perhaps you've been in a place where a simple act of kindness turned your day or your life around? Share your thoughts and stories with me. What does it mean to you to help others, and how has that impacted your life? Let's keep this conversation going and see just how far a little kindness can go. Drop a comment, share your experiences, and let's continue to learn and grow together.